Hello coloring friends, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is another page out of Seasons, this bug and gem page. And today's video is more kind of a speed color process video where I take you through my process for coloring this page. Since this page was done a little bit differently than a lot of my other pages. So here you see me using my masking fluid, and I'm just going along the spine there trying to prevent the watercolor that I'm about to use from seeping down into the spine and into other pages. I have had issues with that in the past. And in hindsight, I mean, while that seems like a good idea, it was a little difficult to get completely out of the binding. I should have used a piece of tape along that side. Okay, and so here I am using my watercolor or painter's tape. It's a low tack tape. I am putting tape around the edges of the opposite page to prevent any spillover. Since this page is such a springy page with those chicks and everything, I definitely don't want to get the dark black and purples on that page, because that's the colors that I'm going to be using for this bug page, if that makes sense. So I'm just doing some more prep work here with placing a scrap piece of paper and my paper towels underneath to catch any overspill, and just proceeding with my watercolor here. I'm using the Kuretake assorted colors set. I'll put a link down in the description box below if you're interested, but I really love these watercolors. So I am just proceeding to kind of make a galaxy background, and I'm kind of using a wet on wet method. It's not full wet on wet method. I'm just adding water as I go along the wet edge there to keep my edge wet so that those colors run nicely into each other. And I'll proceed to do this for the rest of the page. Now, I wanted to say also that I wanted to try this fun effect around the crystal in the center, or the gem in the center. I wanted it to look like it was glowing, and there was a certain technique that I'd been dying to try. It's a watercolor technique where you use salt crystals and it displaces the pigment. So what I did while the paint was still really wet is place those salt crystals right there around that gem, and it just makes a really fun effect. And like I said, it just displaces that pigment, and it looked really, really neat. I loved how it ended up turning out. There were a couple spots that were kind of like, yeah, maybe next time it will look a little bit better, but overall I was very happy with the effect. But basically you just want to have your paint really wet. You see me adding water there along that gem, and then putting in those salt granules. So yeah, I really liked how it turned out. And so today's video will be set more in a speed mode and with some music, and also with me popping in and out explaining what I'm doing. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right, so I actually left that to dry overnight because I did not want to use my heat tool with that masking fluid on, because it will set the masking fluid more into the paper and make it harder to pick up without tearing the paper. So the next day I came back and I kind of brushed off most of that salt, and I'm using my rubber cement pickup tool to remove that masking fluid. And so yeah, I'm just going in with my pencils here that match the watercolor and just filling in those areas along the spine. And so here I am taking my heat tool, heating up that tape a little bit so that when I pull it off, it doesn't pull the paper along with it. Even though it is low tack tape, I still don't want to take any chances. Okay, and so with that tape removed, you can see there was still just a tiny bit of spillover and some bleeding there where I got really heavy with that black along the edge. But hopefully I will be able to cover that up just fine when I go to color that page. And so here I am using my Derwent ink tints in antique white as a base for this gem. And I saw this on a fellow colorist YouTube channel where she does it to help hide those white lines. And I think it did work a little bit. They're not quite as noticeable. And so, yeah, it was a fun little technique to try. And so I'm just activating that ink tints with my water brush here. All right, and so on to coloring these bugs. You can see I did the first one already. I colored the ones directly across from each other the exact same way. So I have used a combination of pencils and my white paint pen to create a fun effect for these bugs. So on some of these bugs, it was really hard for me to see where Hannah's line work was. So I just did the best I could with what I could see through, and just kind of filled in some little doodling where I maybe couldn't see her line work as well. right, and so here I am starting the finishing work with sprinkles of Windsor and Newton white ink and silver shimmer glitter spray, which I am sprinkling on the page rather than spritzing. I am also using my Stickles in the color Twinkle, and it just adds a really nice kind of iridescent bluish purple to those wings. And so I'm just putting it down on dots and then patting it onto the paper while trying not to smear it around too much because I don't want to mess up my beautiful white line work there. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Leave any comments or questions you have down below, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.